let's delve a little more into Los history of Alcatraz. Alcatraz has a many-layered history: Civil War fortress, military prison, federal prison, bird sanctuary, first lighthouse on the west coast, and the birthplace of the American Indian Red Power movement. I didn't know there was such a thing as a Red Power movement. Did you?
Nor did I. No, I never heard of that.
Yeah. It's just a few of the fascinating stories of The Rock. By the way, when that movie came out, we were at the end of the course at the language school, and there were only 11 of us left from the original class of 82. And we all went to see 11 out of 82 made it through the course the first
Wow.
time around. Yeah. It was a hard school. I don't know how it is now, but 30 years ago, yeah, it was going to rip your shorts off and strangle you with them. We had guys become alcoholics because they couldn't take the pressure and end up chaptered out. Yep. Anyway, we went to see The Rock, and one of the guys left was Scott Brockman. He passed away in 2011 from a heart attack, but that guy was the hardest motherfucker I've ever met in my life. He was a SEAL. He was sitting around talking one day about what it meant to be a SEAL and how you had to be hard as nails all the time and literally ready to run a marathon at any point. And there was another SEAL there at the time who said, "Oh yeah, whatever." And Scott literally got up wearing fucking BDUs and jungles and ran a marathon.
Wow.
Like this guy was this hard.
Wow.
Literally went and ran a marathon. Anyway, we went to see The Rock, and we all decided that that was our comedy theme movie because he's like, there's no way we'd ever do literally any of this at all. If anybody tries to get you to do any of this, just tell them to go fuck themselves. Because there's no way we're assaulting through the bathroom in Alcatraz and popping up out of the floor like whack-a-moles with the enemy in an advantageous position, like the rails they had above the showers. He's like, there's nobody would do that.
Yeah, you're correct.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but he was a good dude. Rest in peace, Scott. You were a fucking hell of a guy. His nickname was Mongo.
Ah, that's a good one.
And oh wait, very briefly, he had a Great Dane, and he was getting married, but he didn't tell his platoon, which apparently in the SEALs is bad because they kidnapped him, got him outrageously drunk, and made him what they called the happy hat, which was duct tape helmet with a handle on it so they could drag him around by that. Then they took him drunk, stripped him, covered him in peanut butter, and tied him to a tree in his backyard and let the Great Dane out.
Oh, no.
And then called his fiance to come get him.
Nice. That sounds like a typical hazing.
Yeah, and she showed up to him tied to the tree being licked by his dog. Which is true story. True story. SEAL hazings are fun. Alcatraz has many layered history stories. Learn more about the military history, the people. Let's go through some of the people that were there.
All right.
We know
Al Capone was there.
Yeah. Robert Simmons, an African-American man from Savannah, Georgia, was brought into the foggy, windswept island of Alcatraz in 1918. He was thrown into the hole, pitch-dark dungeon cell with slimy walls crawling with rats. He was held there for 14 days. His crime? Simmons was a conscientious objector who opposed war and refused to fight on the battlefields of World War I. It was 1918. These were different times.
Yep.
Conscientious objectors got themselves fucked up. They did.
Yeah.
Okay. I doubt extremely that this was just about Robert Simmons was a black dude, because I've heard stories of conscientious objectors getting lit up executed badly. Yeah. Exactly. The men of Baker Street in 1918, the United States Army learned that the Presidio of San Francisco was home to men who desired other men.
Yep.
No. The men of Baker Street were incarcerated on Alcatraz Island for 5 months awaiting their courts martial. Presidio was a military base at the time, so these would have been gays in the military, which at that time was bad. These court martials found all 6 soldiers guilty and dishonorably discharged them. That's what happened. Forfeit all pay, and 5 were sentenced to be confined at hard labor for sentences ranging from 2 to 10 years. Look, that was the time.
That's hardcore.
You can't judge it by anything other than that was the time. It's so mean to gay people, but that's the world that it was at the time. Okay.
Yep.
Whether you like it or not, that's how it was.
Now, I personally don't give a shit as long as you just keep it to yourself and I'm not on the menu. I don't care. What you do in your own house is your own goddamn business.
So, suffragist, feminist, pacifist, activist. These are just a few of the identities held by Alice Locke Park. She was heavily involved in the suffrage movement in California and nationally. Miss Park strongly opposed the American involvement in World War I and advocated for the release of conscientious objectors held on Alcatraz Island. Did she do time there?
I don't know.
Because I've never heard of a woman on Alcatraz Island.
Neither have I. I was like, that is pretty novel.
That would be pretty interesting, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Let's see. Where were we?
Did they ever execute anyone on Alcatraz?
I don't know. Let's see. There's the military period, Bureau of Prisons period. They're not really, this isn't a very helpful site. I expected this to be, you know what? No.
It's an island. I mean, Alcatraz is nothing but an island, man. What do you want? I mean, I understand during the Civil War, you know, they put some individuals there in the prison in the sub basement. I guess you could say it's the hole, or it's below the hole. It's just a shitty place.
Oh, there's a hole below the hole.
Yeah.
Now, in medieval prisons and medieval dungeons, there's this thing called the oubliette.
The place of forgetting.
It means the place of forgetting in French. When I went to England a bunch of years back, I went to Warwick Castle, and in the dungeon in Warwick Castle, back in one of the corners is a genuine oubliette, and the hole is probably 2 feet around.
Yep, they just pop you down there, and you're never coming out.
That's it, and it's just a dark pit. And the dungeon was dark enough, and they had lights in there for everybody, but they kept it a little dim so you could get the feel. But dude, that oubliette, I saw that, I was like, ooh.
Yep. And in my novels, there's a little character in there called Oubliox.
Yeah.
Forgetful Ox. He's just like an inanimate animated object called a golem.
I know what a golem is.
Yeah. So it's in.
How does that relate to the oubliette?
It's a oubliox, forgetful ox.
Yeah.
So I mean, I basically stole the name from that. I thought it was pretty cool.
Okay. Anyway, apparently Alcatraz had oubliettes. Also, people tried to escape from Alcatraz because, well, you got to escape from Alcatraz. But again, look at the inside of this prison. I mean, through the bars and everything. Can you imagine going in there with grenades?
Well, if I was stuck there for life, it would be my full-time job to escape or die trying.
Yeah, why not?
That's just me.
Yep, why not? Located on a lonely island in the middle of San Francisco Bay, the Rock has held captive since the Civil War. In 1930s, Alcatraz was already a forbidding place, surrounded by the cold, rough waters of the Pacific and sharks. The redesign included tougher iron bars, a series of strategically positioned guard towers, and strict rules, including a dozen checks a day of the prisoners. They also were not allowed to talk. Escape seemed near impossible. Despite the odds, from 1934 until the prison closed in 1963, men tried 14 separate escapes. Nearly all were caught or did not survive the attempt. Okay, so they did kill people. Or you died horribly trying to escape.
Well, usually you die of hypothermia in the water after about 20 minutes.
I can tell you firsthand that water is cold as fuck.
Yes. Oh, yes.
I went to Presidio. That's where the language school was. Frank Morris arrives at Alcatraz in 1960 after convictions for bank robbery, burglary, and other crimes, and repeated attempts in various to escape various other prisons. Later that year, a convict by the name of John Anglin was sent to Alcatraz followed by his brother Clarence in early 61. All three knew each other from previous stints in prison. Okay, right away, I'm the warden of the prison. All three of these guys know each other. Guess who's going in different cell blocks?
That's exactly what they should be doing.
Yep. And none of these guys would have been allowed contact. I wouldn't even let them walk past each other in the hallway. But of course, assigned to adjoining cells, they began hatching an escape plan.
All right. So obviously somebody fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's fairly self-evident. That's just negligent as all hell. Morris, known for his intelligence, took the lead in planning. Criminals are only caught when they're stupid or something bad happens. A mistake is made. Yep. Yeah. They were aided by another inmate, Alan West. Clarence, John Anglin, Frank Morris. Okay, West didn't make it out, I guess. This is clever as fuck.
Yeah, when I saw this in the movie, I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, they really did this. This is so sweet. June 12th, 1962, the routine early morning bed check turned out to be anything but. The three convicts were not in their cells. Anglin, his brother Clarence, and Frank Morris. In their beds were cleverly built dummy heads made from plaster, flesh tone paint, and real human hair that apparently fooled the night guards. The prison went into lockdown and an intensive search began. What I want to know is, where the hell are these guys hiding these papier-mâché heads?
I know.
While they're plotting this. That's clever as fuck. How the hell did he do that?
Yeah, when you actually look in the details, I'm like, wow, it's amazing they got away with that.
Yeah, it's crazy shit. We were notified immediately and asked to help. Our San Francisco office set leads for offices nationwide to check for any records of the missing prisoners in the previous escape attempts. All three had tried. We also interviewed relatives of the men and compiled all their identification records and asked boat operators in the bay to be on the lookout for debris. Within 2 days, a packet of letters sealed in rubber and related to the men was recovered. Later, some paddle-like pieces of wood and bits of rubber inner tube found in the water. A homemade life vest was also discovered washed up on Cronkite Beach, but extensive searches did not turn up any other items in the area. Now, right away, these guys are smart enough to do this, okay? They're smart enough to plaster heads with real human hair. I mean, a reasonable person passing by a dimly lit cell looking at that would think that's a dude.
Huh. Yeah, I would.
In my opinion. Now, when they go looking for signs that something, on the shore, and they turn up things like this. The life jacket made it to shore, and they're finding other pieces of debris. These guys are smart enough to make the plaster heads. I think they're smart enough to make it look like something like a boat failed in the water.
Yeah.
My personal opinion is at least two of these guys made it. As the days went by, the FBI, the Coast Guard, Bureau of Prison Authorities, and others began to find more evidence and piece together an ingenious escape plan. We were aided by inmate Alan West, who didn't make it out of his cell in time and began providing us with information. He flipped right away. There's you go. This is how criminals get caught, as rats a lot of times. The group had been laying plans since the previous December. One of them came across some old saw blades. Dude. Using crude tools, including a homemade drill made from the motor of a broken vacuum cleaner.
You got to be motivated for that shit.
This is some motivated shit here. The plotters each loosened the air vents at the back of their cells by painstakingly drilling closely spaced holes around the cover so that the entire section of the wall could be removed. Once through, they hid the holes with whatever they could, a suitcase, a piece of cardboard. What were they doing in suitcases? Behind the cells was a common, unguarded utility corridor. How did they get through that? Because that's a sink above the hole there. See the hole?
Yeah. Well, they're obviously not very heavy. I mean, those guys.
Yeah.
Listen, man, when times get tough, you're the quick or the dead. Obviously, they wanted to be quick, so they lost weight.
But going through that I don't do that kind of small space very well.
Yeah. When I was younger, I could do that easy.
Not a fan. Behind the cells was a common, unguarded utility corridor. They made their way down this corridor and climbed the roof of their cell block inside the building where they set up a secret workshop. They kept There they kept taking turns to watch for guards in the evening before the last count. See the crude periscope they constructed. They used a variety of stolen and donated materials to build and hide what they needed to escape. More than 50 raincoats that they stole or gathered were turned into makeshift life preservers and a 6 by 14 foot rubber raft. Dude, that's a big raft. That's the size of
that.
What are those rubber? Not the Zodiac, the smaller one, the 8-man boats.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
that's the size of one of the 8-man boats.
That's like a what is it? A life raft on a small yacht or something.
Yeah. The seams carefully stitched together and vulcanized by the hot steam pipes in the prison. The idea came from magazines that were found in the prisoners' cells. Dude, they were vulcanizing rubber. And when did they have time to do all of this shit?
They did it at night.
But there were 12 bed checks a day. They also built wooden paddles and converted a musical instrument into a tool to inflate the life raft. I'm going to spitball. I'm going to spitball and say accordion.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. It had to be an accordion.
At the same time, they were looking for a way out of the building. The ceiling was a good 30 feet high, but using a network of pipes, they climbed up and eventually pried open the ventilator at the top of the shaft. They kept it in place temporarily by fashioning a fake bolt out of soap. A what the what? I'd love to see how that worked, because soap is not exactly known for being stable at all.
Well, if it's all you got to make it work.
Yeah, I guess. View from the catwalk above cell B showing the root prisoners took to access the roof. Again, that's not a big vent, dude.
No, but you know what? I mean, when there's a will, there's a way.
Amen to that. West, though, did not have his ventilator grill completely removed and was left behind. The 3 others got into the corridor, gathered their gear, climbed up and out through the ventilator, and got onto the prison roof. There, they shimmied down the bakery smokestack at the rear of the cell house, climbed over the fence, and snuck. How did they get over the fence? The guards must have been really convinced that there was no way people were getting out of there.
It's called complacency.
Yeah, I agree. And snuck to the northeast shore of the island and launched their raft. Hang on 1 second here. Maps, Google. I can get to Alcatraz really fast because I know exactly where this is.
I'm just trying to think, why would Trump want to open this? It has to be like a fear factor thing.
I would imagine so. I mean, come on. It's freaking Alcatraz. That's intimidating AF.
Yes.
You know? Let's see here. Angel Island, Daly City. Why is that coming up? That's Treasure Island.
What are you looking for?
Hang on.
All right.
Where in the bay is... Oh, there we go. I want to see why they picked the northeast corner. Is what I'm getting. Okay, I see. It's over by...
I believe it's closest to the fence.
I'm going to... That might be the case, but here is Alcatraz Island. To the south, you can see this is San Francisco, Maine. There's Fisherman's Wharf, Pier 33, etc. Now, if we go to the northeast corner of the... Can we see this good?
Yeah, I can see
That's pretty good. Okay. So there's the main cell house in the middle of the island, that big gray structure there. The northeast corner is the powerhouse and what was the Model Industries building, the laundry service, I guess that was. But looking at the island,
you think it would make it more
northeast corner
off the southern coast?
Yeah, that looks not great. Let's measure a distance from here to here. That's a mile. Now let's take that same point over here and let's grab that point.
You're fucking up.
And say, let's go the other way.
It's 3/4 of a mile.
That's 3/4 of a mile. Yeah. But we don't know what the currents were like or any of that fun stuff either. Right. Would be my guess.
Yeah, or they
Exactly
had,
so.
or it was very general because they're reading out of magazines which are probably a couple years
Sure.
old. Because you're not getting current issues of shit in prison,
Current
especially in the
issues.
60s. No, you're not getting current issues of shit.
There was a current joke there.
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. Just checking. So anyway, they got into the corridor, climbed into their gear, climbed over the fence, and stuck to the northeast shore and launched their raft. What happened next remains a mystery. Did they make it across the bay, get to Angel Island, and then cross Raccoon Strait into Marin County, or did the wind of the waves get the better of them? Plenty of people gone to great lengths to prove that the men could have survived, but the question remains, did they? Our investigation at the time concluded otherwise for the following reasons. Crossing the bay. Yes, youngsters have made the more than mile-long swim from Alcatraz to Angel Island. With the strong currents and frigid bay water, the odds were clearly against these men. They were in a boat.
Yep, they were in a
At
boat.
the very least, they had flotation devices. Okay, I can last a long fucking time in cold water with a flotation device, and I know you can too. Because the Army likes to do stupid things to its people.
Yeah.
3, if by
Well,
land.
I had a friend of mine that used to do the triathlon, and they used to have an Alcatraz Island one.
Yes.
Yeah, and, he made the swim across the bay from Alcatraz, and then he
Yeah.
finished the triathlon, and he was ruined for, like, 4 days.
Oh, those are hard. I
Yeah.
will not. I never attempted one myself, but
No, I'm not doing that shit.
yeah.
No, I'm too
I
old.
used to swim a lot. I used to swim probably 3 miles every other day. I was really big into that because the endurance you get from it.
Yeah, but that water is what, 40 anywhere from what, 41 to 47 degrees? Because
Yeah.
it's not much warmer when you go up, around Seattle, and I scuba dived up there many times, and that water is cold.
It's typically between 40 and 50 degrees, 40 and 52 degrees, depending on where you are in the time of year.
Punishingly cold.
Yeah, I grew up going to the Great Lakes a lot, and I swam in Lake Superior a bunch of times, so I had more endurance than most people for that kind of thing. I don't know now. I haven't done it in years and years and years. But at that time, Monterey Bay wasn't all that cold for me. It wasn't as like crushingly cold as it might be for others.
I got you.
So, but
yeah, man,
I grew up with Yooper blood.
And those guys, when they were in their late 30s, early 40s when they did this.
Yeah.
And they probably were not in good shape because you're not really going to get in super shape in prison.
Not in good shape for that time is not in good not in good shape for current time. You have to remember, guys worked back then. A lot of these guys were hard motherfuckers who could throw 1,000 bales of hay in a day.
Yeah.
To begin with. So they might have been in better shape than we realize compared to today's standards.
So you're saying they were in good residual shape?
I would say they were in good residual shape.
Yeah.
There was a good chance of that. And these guys are determined. I mean, they spent a year planning this damn thing.
Yeah. And like I said, if I was stuck there for life, it's my job to escape now. I mean,
yeah.
That's it.
And then for the 17 years we worked on the case, no credible evidence emerged to suggest that the men were still alive either in the U.S. or overseas. I would like to address that point briefly. If they did make it and they were in San Francisco, it's 1963. There's no surveillance cameras.
Yep.
There's no real reliable, speedy reporting to get ahead of them to a point. It'd take a couple of days just to get pictures down to, what is it, Sacramento? Where are, what's the city at the end there that leads to Mexico? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I
Hang on.
It's right outside. It's right crossing the border from Juarez.
Zoom out. San Diego.
San Diego?
Yeah. If they could make it down to San Diego,
they're done.
And Chula Vista and get across that border, they would just disappear.
That's right.
There is no real reasonable expectation that they couldn't do that. And back then, once they got into Mexico, you're gone. Whoop. Nobody cares.
You can make it through Mexico into South America, and then you really are gone.
Yep.
I.e. Hitler.
Yep. Costa Rica, or I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, I think there's a very good chance that they made it out. The fact that they didn't find any evidence, lack of evidence is not proof of a thing.
It's not proof of death.
Is the problem there. Yeah. Proof of death is proof of death.
I am hoping and wishing that at least 2 of these guys lived to die of old age.
You know what I would really like is for somebody to stumble across a journal in like Costa Rica or Bolivia or somewhere like that.
Yeah.
That would be really cool.
Well, whatever happened to them, they definitely went straight.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. There's a pretty safe bet of that.
I mean, they were rehabilitated.
Yeah,
100%.
I'd be opening up myself a little fruit stand somewhere and being happy that I'm still alive.
They either got rehabilitated or recycled. One of the two. That's it.
Yeah. Yep.
And technically, if they got recycled, they're rehabilitated as well.
Watch Grunt Speak live every Tuesday and Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And if you want to join Pop for Supporter Sundays, go to redonkulous.com/donate and make a monthly pledge. A link is in the Meat Gazer box.